Hi, ik ben Timo. Hey guys, first of all, sorry to my only Deutsch-speaking followers, because today's video will only be in English. Because I'm presenting to you the brand new Kickstarter called 90 Minutes by the well-known German publisher Feuerland and designed by Norbert Wöller. And if you're a soccer fan like me and you were always sad because of the lack of good soccer games, then this might be just the thing for you. So let's check it out.
So welcome everybody for tonight's matchup. Brazil against Germany, the current World Cup winner. And here come the bench players, already eager to play, but be it because of tactics or for fitness reasons, they won't play tonight, but still they're eager to come into the game, maybe at a later point. They're already excited of being here, just as we are in this awesome Feuerland stadium. And here we can see that Brazil will take a modern 4-5-1 strategy, while Germany will play in a classic 4-3-3 system with Manuel Neuer. Before we go into the game, I have to say that everything you see here are still prototype components. Okay, so this pretty cool looking stadium will be printed on cardboard later. It will be a double-sided cardboard, so for the beginner's game and also for the advanced version you'll have two different types. And the players here, which are pretty nice little fellas made of wood, already pretty close to the original, but the rest, for example the cards, are still prototype. So, but you will nevertheless get a good impression of this game. So in this game you'll have two teams, so it's a only two-player game. And at first you arrange them as you wish. So you have these green defense players here, and then you have a purplish rim around the midfielders, and the orange ones are the attackers. So as I said, Brazil is playing only with one attacker right now, and 5 midfielders and 4 defenders, while the goalie also counts as a defender, as you can see by his green rim around there. So Germany is in possession, starting the game, and on your turn you can always move players, and you can always do another action. And the other action is passing the ball if you have it, shooting on the goal if you have it, or if you don't have the ball, you can tackle the player with the ball. Or as a fourth action, you can always choose not to tackle or not to move the ball, but rather move an extra player. And how many players can you move? Well, it depends on your fans, how they are shouting and cheering. As you can see, this is the Brazilian side. It's got numbers from 1 to 3. And right now the marker is on the 2. Of course, Germany has the same over here. And your fans, by scoring goals, by tackling successfully, or passing unsuccessfully, so that this marker will move here. But right now it's on the 2. That means that you can move up to 2 persons, because the fans motivate them to move. And you can always choose whether to move first or to do the extra action first. In this case, it's the kickoff, so if I wanted to move, I could only do it in my own half, which wouldn't make much sense since I could place them as I'd like in the beginning. So my first action would be a pass over here. So I pass 1, 2, 3 spaces, and now I have to see whether this is a Tony Kroos, whose passes always come to his teammates, or whether he messed up. And for that, I will roll a d12. And if it's higher than the spaces moved, so higher than 3, then it's successful. With a short pass like this, it's usually successful. But let's say I had rolled a 2 or 1 here, then it wouldn't be successful, and we had to take a look at this chart over here. And in the case of a 1, you see that the ball would go 1 space into that direction. So he wouldn't have gotten the ball, but messed up, and the ball would land here, out of anybody's possession. Let's take this case. Now the ball is there, but I still got 2 move actions. Move actions are always 3 spaces. And in this case, I would decide to take this player, number 10, to move him 1, 2, 3. Now, as you can see, you can move orthogonally or diagonally. It doesn't matter. If you have the ball, then you can just move regularly with the ball at your feet. And now I have a second action, and I want to put this player into position for a good pass next round. And so I'll do 1, 2, 3. This would be a 1, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3 spaces pass, though it would be pretty safe. Passes are never allowed to go over more than 9 spaces. If the pass had been successfully in the first place, then I'd have the option of another pass. Okay, so whenever a pass is successfully, you can immediately pass it on to somebody else if you like. You don't have to, but in the end, the ball may never be passed over more than 9 spaces. So if I'd make a long pass here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I wanted to pass it again, I could only do that on an adjacent space, since it's not allowed to travel more than 9 spaces in one turn. The same is true for any shots on the goal. Okay, then I'd be done with my turn, and it'd be the next player's turn. And the Brazilian player here will, of course, try to capture the ball. So in this case, he will move his players first and then do the action. He will move 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I mentioned it already. Players always move 3 spaces, or up to 3 spaces. They can do only less, of course. And in this case, trying to tackle somebody is the only case when 2 players can be on the same space. And then maybe he's quite optimistic that he will receive the ball, so he will already move this guy 1, 2, 3 over here to get the next pass then. Because if you conquer the ball, then you always have an extra turn. So how is this tackling settled? Now the cards come into play, because every player will have 10 cards ranging from 1 to 10, and this is a bit like, or a tiny bit like rock, paper, scissors, because both players choose 1 card secretly and then reveal them. And you always have to think, wow, what will the other player play? Will he play a high card or low card? After playing the cards, you always get them back into your hand, so they're not lost or anything. You could always play the same card. So now you might wonder why not always play the 10, since it's the highest card and highest number wins. So if I play a 10 and the other player plays a 9, then I will get the ball. So, because bad things can happen if you if the difference of the numbers is too high. So let's take my example. I played the 10 and the other player plays a 9. These cards are pretty neat, I think, because you can always see what happens when the other player reacts accordingly. So let's say I play the 10 and assume that the other player will play a 9 or even something between 6 and 9. Then I will get the ball. My fans, of course, will cheer harder because I'm such a stud getting the ball. And Germany's fans will be frustrated, and the marker will move down one, maybe resulting in Germany having one player less to move if it moves too much down. But let's say I played the 10 and the other player, my opponent, only played 1. In this case, my tackling was much too harsh, okay, and the referee would whistle, and it would result in a red card for my player, and my fans definitely wouldn't like it, okay, resulting in too less cheering. But the Germany fans would really much appreciate it, and Germany's fan support would go up by 3. They would have possession of the ball, but unfortunately the German player would also be injured, which means you had to roll a d8, and depending on the die roll, that number of minutes the player would be out. And you can wait for him to come back because the doctor will take care of him at the side of the pitch, or you could just substitute him and bring a fresh player. And here you can see whatever happens in between. Let's say I played the 10 and he would play the 4. Then you have a die there. This is the referee die, and you had to roll the die. On a blank, the referee has not seen your foul. On a whistle, he had seen it, and here on a whistle, the tackle player with the lower number would even be out because of an injury. So, and here you see the different possibilities. You rolled a whistle, the referee has seen it. Your fan motivation would go down, and the possession is with Germany, and they would cheer. And if the referee had not seen it, you will receive the ball, have possession, but the German fans will be very angry with you, shouting all the louder, getting a +2. So, depending on what you play and what the other players play, this changes. And if they play the same card, 10, then you can see that you roll a d8, and or let's say we're still with a beginner's game, you would choose new cards as long as you finally chose 2 different cards, and or in the advanced version you would roll a d8, and depending on that, because you would both kick the ball very hard, and then even in real soccer, I think this is very realistic. You don't know where the ball will go, so you roll a die, and the higher number wins again and gets possession of the ball. And all these cards are done like that. Still prototype, but the layout will be pretty similar to the end product. So here see when you play a 6, then all different things can happen. Of course, no red card, no yellow card, because the difference in number can't be that high when you play a 6. So this is what I meant with stone, paper, scissors. When you play that, that you're always thinking, will the other one play a high number? Maybe this is an important tackle, it's pretty close to my goal, so I should put in more. But then maybe the other player thinks just that and plays a very low number, so he will get the ball by free kick, and my player will be sent off. So you can never be sure what to play. You have 10 cards, which is quite a lot, I think, to make your choice. Yeah, and that is an important part of this game, and that is why it's there's not a lot of space. So when we played, we figured out that no matter where you are, there is always an opponent pretty close by. Okay, so you can do things like that to move over here. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. He couldn't go there. Let me show you. He couldn't reach him. But then, what should he do over there? Right? That's nowhere close to that goal. And on the other side, you can do the same. Let's say players have moved during the game a bit. Here would be a free space. He would receive a pass over here, maybe here. And then the number 10 would decide, so not to get tackled during the Brazilian's turn, he would decide to move over here. 1, 2, 3. So he could not be reached. But then, what should he do there? Okay, he's scared. It's pretty hard to score a goal from here. A pass would be hard if the attacker would go here, because it's a long-range pass and there is a player in between. And for every player in between, you have to roll a higher number. So let's say I'll pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. And because of this guy, I had to roll at least a 7 for a successful pass. And if there's another player in my way, I'd have to roll at least an 8 for this successful 6 spaces pass. So it gets harder and harder. So yes, you're pretty safe here, and but you can there's not a lot you can do out there. So this is, so I like it. Okay, I like this aspect of the game because it's pretty tactical, and it's again very realistic, I think, because of course out here you're pretty safe. You know, games where they pass the ball only around this area and nothing much happens, and you always try to get the ball into the box to maybe score. You can always also score from outside the box, but with scoring a goal, it's the same as passing. It depends on the number of spaces that the ball has to travel. So in this case, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to go into the goal. And yeah, let's assume you do that. It would still be a beginner's game, so they wouldn't hurt standing there. Oh, by the way, I forgot. When you pass a ball or you shoot at the goal, you always have the rule of 1 45-degree angle. So I could always shoot in a straight line. I can shoot in a straight line diagonally, or I could make 1 45-degree turn. So I could like shoot here and then go straight. Okay, so these will be reachable spaces, or I could shoot straight here and then go through there. Okay, to kick the ball with such finesse that will move there. What is impossible is to do a 90-degree turn or to move something like this. Okay, so the same is true for a shot on the goal. So right now I could fire at the A space here. I'll move him over there to show you better. I could always shoot at B to go over B into the goal, or no, C would not be possible since the ball would move out of the pitch then. Let's see, is there any other? Yeah, I could shoot over him, but how would I do that? Okay, so then to shoot on the goal, you have 3 cards here. And first, you have to decide. So first take a look at the middle picture here. It's a B, an A, and a C. So you, when you're attacking, Germany's attacking, so I would take the German ones, and let's say I wanted to go for A. Okay, so I secretly chose A and put it down. okay, that the other player can't see it, and he would do the same. And he would say, well, he will probably shoot at B. So he would choose B and put it down, and then we would reveal the cards, and then you would see, well, he was wrong. I would shoot at A, and this will give me an extra bonus, because now I will have to choose how I will shoot. So, as an attacker, now everyone knows that I want to aim for A, and as an attacker I have to choose my kind of shot. So the distance is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have to roll d12 just like when passing. And now I can choose whether I want to try 6 times minus the distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 times minus 6. So this would be a bad idea because I had 0 times to roll at least a 6. So you can see it's not really, well, the chances are not high to score from a higher distance. 7 minus 6, you would have 1 try to roll the d12 to roll at least an 8, or you had 8 minus 6 times, so 2 times, 2 tries to try to roll at least a 10. Okay. If you were standing here, of course, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So here you had 6 minus 4, so 2 tries at least a 6, 3 tries at least an 8, or 4 tries at least a 10, which of course would be much higher chances to score a goal. If you succeed, with this the fans will cheer very hard, and if you fail, this will the fan support will go down, of course. On the other hand, as a goalkeeper, you can try to save the ball, and you have to decide whether you want to catch the ball or just to knock it away. And then depending on that and whether your position is correct. So in this case, Germany said that the Germany player wanted to score for A, but the keeper chose B, so he's wrong there. This means he has a red cross, so he can try 3 times to save the ball. And if he was correct, if he had been correct and would have stood there, then he could have tried 4 times. And then depending on whether the save is successful or not, it will go up or down. And on the other hand, here in this case, just to punch the ball away is a bit, the chances are higher to achieve that, and you can roll 5 or 6 times respectively, but then they'll cheer a little less. And if you do that, you again had to take a look at this chart over here, and you would have to roll a d8 to determine the ball will go. Yeah, let's come to the rules for the advanced rules. You have some extra rules, and that is when you pass the ball. Let's say he has the ball over here and wants it to pass over here, and there's this Brazilian player. So now when the pass comes, this Brazilian player might try to intercept the ball by a sliding tackle. And in order to do that, he will roll a die, and depending on the outcome, he will be successful or not. And if not, he will just stay there, and the ball will go to this fellow, and he had to roll the die to see if he controls it successfully or not, or if it will bounce off his foot. And if it had been successful, he would now have the ball possession over here. And since he got the ball, it's his turn now. The same is true if somebody should run with the ball past another player. Then, even though it's not his turn, he can try to get the ball by tackling this guy. Then you do another tackling action, and then the one who wins the tackling could put the player who lost the tackling anywhere around him, let's say here. And now if it's the German player's turn, he could not tackle him again, with this player at least not, because he's already past him, and he would of course go over there to try to tackle him. And if it was the German who had won the tackle, he would move him somewhere around, and he would be in possession probably if the card says so. And yeah, it will be his turn now. And again, this player could not disturb him by any means. Well, because it's his turn and he couldn't do much about it. And even let's say he put him here and now runs past him, he could do nothing because he already lost the tackling to him, and it will only be in the next turn that he could run after him and to go for him, but not in a passive tackling again. So one thing that you of course recognize, because I told you so, is the number here, the color, okay, the different colors, to tell them apart, so the defense players from the offense players. And that also has a reason, because they all have special abilities, at least in the advanced version of the game. So the attackers with this reddish orange color here, they have a bonus when trying to score a goal, because they not only get the number here minus the spaces, but they get one extra, so always one more when they try to score a goal. Then we have this purple midfielder, and midfielders are always good in passing, so they are allowed to play to roll the die a second time if the pass was unsuccessful. And then we have the green defenders, and of course they're good at tackling and getting the ball, so they have the bonus that when you chose a card during the tackling, let's say I chose the 4, then after revealing the cards they can always move up one, so they can say, well, I played the 4, I see you, oh, so I have a 4, you have a 5, I'd rather go for the 5. So they can always add 1 to the card value, but only adding and not go down 1 if it was too harsh. But they can always say, okay, that's not enough, I'll go for 1 more. And the goalkeeper, who is also green, also counts as a defender, but if he should come out of his goal to try to intercept the ball before the attacker can shoot, then he would even get a +2, potential +2 after revealing the cards. Okay, so whenever he goes one-on-one, he can use his hands, and so has a higher chance of winning that tackling. But just to let you know, he might as well be in trouble, okay, because now he's out of the goal. Whenever now somebody shoots on the goal, so that player would definitely want to take his next moving action to move the goalie back into the goal, because if he's not there and then a shot goes onto the goal, he's not there to deny it. The last thing that makes the advanced version of the game different from the basic version are the tactic cards. As you can see, some minutes are marked in red, and you can play different tactic cards. So you have every player has a handful of tactic cards and can choose one to play in that minute. That is the coach screaming onto the pitch for a certain tactic, and that tactic could mean that for the time being, let's say it would be the 9th minute, then from the 9th till the 27th minute, the goalkeeper would get 2 extra points when reacting, or that all long passes would be an automatical success, or things like that. So to make certain parts of your team stronger, that you might move 1 extra player for the time being. So yeah, that you have different tactic cards, and during halftime you get all of them back on your hand. So you have a maximum of 2 times that a card can be played during a game. So a maximum of once in the first and once in the second half. Because at halftime, as I mentioned, you get them back. So this gets another level of tactics here, of strategy to play the right cards at the right moment. So probably, since it's not that long in play, that card. Sorry. I said from the 9th till 27th, didn't I? So if you play the cards in the 9th minute, then of course in the 18th minute already, so 9 minutes later always, you'd have a new card to be played. So 9 minutes isn't that long, so it will give you a quick boost during the game, which is sometimes very welcome. But then the game will change again, because let's say in minute 9 your opponent is pressing and you're close to your own goal, then you might want to give the goalie a boost, whereas then you probably have successfully defend your goal, and then you would rather do something for your passing to get into the box of the other players, to get into the front. Or maybe you're already there and you want to score better, then you would choose such a card. And so it's quite interesting, and as I said, there's another level of it gives some more depth to the strategy here. So that's pretty neat. So time for some final thoughts on 90 minutes. It's finally a really good soccer game out there, and this is 90 minutes. By playing the game, you can really tell that the author, Norbert Wöller, is really into soccer. So this is not a kind of artificial soccerish game. It is really a good soccer simulation. And you can really tell that somebody who's really into soccer made this, because, as I mentioned earlier a couple of times, this is really realistic, I think. And if you're into soccer and you play it, it just feels natural, kind of. Okay, so some rules you don't have to look up during gameplay, because it just feels natural. So if the ball is passed over an opponent, of course it's harder to get the ball to your own players, so you have to roll 1 digit higher. Or if it passes too close to another player, to an opponent, of course he might intercept it, and things like that. And I like that a lot. So this is really a good mixture of an action-packed game on one hand with a soccer feel to it, and also a lot of strategy on the other hand. Okay, without giving
too much thought. Okay, so you don't. So usually there's no analysis paralysis here. Okay, sometimes it takes a bit longer to think what the other might play, especially doing tacklings. You think, well, what could the other have? Should I play an 8, or is that too high? Or if I go lower, maybe then he will win the ball. And of course, it is there, but you shouldn't overdo it. Okay, so try to play quickly, not taking the action out of it. I like it a lot. I like also the artwork, which is fantastic. The stadium, although this was a prototype that I showed you, I think the graphics are pretty final here. It looks great, although it will have cardboard, double-sided. So on one side the beginner's version, and on the other the expert version. And I also like that concept. So to have a beginner's version, because I think there are not many board game geeks who are also soccer fans. So usually you're maybe the board game geek and you like soccer, and you take that game with you and try to show it with, try to play it with your friends, show it to them. And they're maybe not that much into board games, so I like it that there is a basic version with the basic rules. And I think if you've played it once, even if you're not a board game player, you will definitely get it, and the next game will be an advanced game. Okay, so the professional version, as I called it earlier. Because there are only a few minor rules that come on top of them, and but they do make sense, they do make it more interesting, and the game gets more tactical depth to it, and I like that a lot. But as I said, there are minor rules, so they're not hard to get, and once you know the basic setup and the basic set of rules, then it's not easy, it's not hard, it's very easy to learn those extra rules. They can just come natural, especially if you're a soccer fan, because if you play the basic game, sometimes you might say on your own, well, why can I not intercept here? And wouldn't it make more sense and be more realistic if this happens like that? And that is there in the advanced version, so no one who played this once will have any problems moving on to the other version. And I like that a lot. I also like the aspect that you're free in how long you want to play. In the basic version, you move on 2 minutes on your turn, so it's a bit faster, and on the advanced version, you move on 1 minute, so to make the game a bit longer and more strategic. But of course, you can say, well, I want to have the professional rules, but still I'd like a shorter game, so I'll move on 2 minutes. Or you can say, I have a couple of friends over here, so we want to play a tournament, and so to make the game short, you can say we will only play maybe 1/2, or we'll move on even 3 minutes per turn. Okay, that's totally up to you how long you want to play. Or you can say I just want a quick 20-minute game as a filler maybe, and so you'll do that. The only minor thing that I don't like that much is the fact that the players have their numbers on their hat. That looks a bit strange to me. I mean, it does make sense. I can see why they did it, okay, so that you got a better overview. You can create your own team sheet with names, and you can immediately see, well, this is me moving here, this is my grandma or my dog, or it's Manuel Neuer and Messi and whoever you got there. And also, if players should be injured and they get injured twice, that's a heavy injury and they're out for the game, have to be substituted. You have to note the substitution and things like that. Or if you get a yellow card, a red card, you have to note that. And yeah, then it makes sense to see them more easily. And even the color code, whether there are defensive players, midfielders, or attackers, it makes sense to see it immediately to make the game faster, and that you don't have to turn around the player and think, well, what kind of player is that? It makes sense, but it doesn't look too nice to me. Okay.
But I do like that they have these little wooden meeples, those little wooden players. I like that a lot because I'm pretty sick and tired of all these minis, these plastic minis or resin minis that almost every Kickstarter right now seems to come with. So I like the fact that they have these wooden players, and as a stretch goal there should be another team in red, so I hope that gets funded. Overall, I really hope you back this game to make it possible to play the real thing and not only the prototype, because I like it a lot. It's very exciting, it's action packed, and it's finally there's a good soccer game out there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the game even more. And so, see you next time. Bye.